Oklahoma comes into this year following a 6-7 debut in the SEC last year, 2-6 in league play. I tried to warn you, Oklahoma fans, going into the season. You told us time and time again that we were wrong, but sorry. I will confess, we did not see it happening in this way. It was kind of a Murphy's Law situation that got you to 6-7. We mentioned the wide receiver injuries and when we were talking about Jackson Arnold in the context of Auburn. This offensive line, guys, I teased the stat earlier. They gave up 50 sacks last year, sub 4 yards per carry. 24 of those sacks came in 3 games in a row against Texas, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. That was a 3-week stretch where the Oklahoma quarterbacks got sacked 24 times. All that's in the past, though. John Mateer is coming in. Ben Arbuckle is coming with him from Pullman, the offensive coordinator from Washington State last year. But let's talk about transfer. We kind of talked about John Mateer quite a bit this offseason. I think the college football populace is starting to wake up. We can talk about him a little bit more if you guys want. The transfer that I'm a little bit more excited about is Jaden Ott coming over from California. That is a really electric running back to pair with Javonte Barnes. And the receiving corps brought in some interesting pieces as well. Isaiah Sategna from Arkansas, really the only proven SEC commodity there. It's another team that is kind of trying to get some guys from smaller schools to take a bigger role in the SEC. But bottom line on offense is it can't possibly be worse than what it was last year. They're bringing in too much talent. They're reinvigorating. And they've got Ben Arbuckle, who I think is one of the young stars at the offensive coordinator position.
Yeah, 113th in total offense last year, 119th in passing, barely inside the top 100 in scoring. It truly can't.
No wide receiver eclipsed 325 receiving yards last year.
I mean, that's
at Oklahoma. At Oklahoma.
Yeah. The land of a plenty when it comes to distributing passes down the field. I'm very high on the Sooners this year. As much as we tried to warn you about the offensive line struggles last year, this year, and I wrote my notes, I believe in the continuity with LOL in parentheses. I like they have 3 returning starters coming back. Eddie Pierre-Louis is going to be their left guard. I like what the Sooners have in place. The question is, how quickly can that offense ascend to levels that we're used to seeing Oklahoma run with a brand new offensive coordinator, with so many new pieces in the backfield? I think they can do it relatively quickly. The X factor is going to be week 2 when Michigan comes calling. And I think that's, I think a lot of headlines are going to be written about that week 2 game. Someone's season is, receives the supercharge. Someone's season is over based on what the pundits are probably going to be saying. I like the defense. I think, yes, you lose some key pieces. Danny Stutzman's gone. They lose a safety to the NFL as well. Billy Bowman, Denton Ryan's own. But, a couple of very familiar faces back there in the secondary. They've got a number of returners along that defensive line. This is a really talented Oklahoma team. And the challenge was not the defense last year. The defense finished 29th in scoring, and that's really as high as it could have been. The offense let them out to dry so many times. So for me, the offense, if it just improves marginally, the defense doesn't take that big of a step back, I think this is going to look like a new team, truly a night and day difference, just, provided injuries don't ravage them once again.
Yeah, I think this team should look a lot better. I like the run game. I'm still kind of questioning the pass game, not from what Mateer can do, but more from the receivers' standpoint of just saying, like, who's going to be out there to be the guy to actually catch passes for him. Trey, you kind of highlighted the struggles there a little bit, but I'm optimistic overall. And I think, look, honestly, for Oklahoma fans, if I told you your offense was a little bit one-dimensional this year, I think a lot of y'all would say, hey, we got a dimension. We're at least doing one thing, right? We can at least run the football. I think the problem is the schedule really is going to be a tricky one for Oklahoma, where you could be a better team and it doesn't look that different in terms of the final result. Obviously, kind of, Mitch, you talked about it, Michigan coming to town. That's going to be a huge one. You also, you play Texas. That's a common thing. At South Carolina is tough. At Tennessee is tough. At Bama is tough. Home games against Ole Miss, LSU, Missouri, depending on what you think of them. Going to be some tough games on the schedule. So, although I don't think that Oklahoma is going to be nearly as bad as they were last season, I think you could still see a couple more losses than you expect from an Oklahoma team, even if they do look a lot better in terms of the product they put on the field.
Feels like a team that maybe has one of the higher ceilings if everything hits. If the defense doesn't take too far of a step back, if John Mateer comes in, finds a go-to receiver, some more guys step up behind Satania, I think this could have one of the higher ceilings, and they could be pushing for 9 or 10 wins. Feels like 7-5, 8-4 with the schedule, though. It feels like they're gonna.
That's the most positive thing you've said about Oklahoma all offseason.
I think it's the most positive thing I've ever said about Oklahoma on this show. I'm not a big fan of the Sooners in general, but I do like this team this year. I love John Mateer. I think that he's going to be just a revelation. And I think they're going to have competency at the offensive play caller position too. And that can't be overstated. Difficult schedule. Like you guys highlighted, a lot's going to come down to that Michigan game, like Mitch said. But I think this is a team that can really see a big improvement this year and see a big jump just from competency on both sides of the football.